City of Duval, Tuesday, March 16th, 2021, council meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. And with that, would you please join me in the flag salute once the clerk pulls up the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
justice for all.
Okay, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Brudnicki.
Here.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Here.
Councilmember McHenry.
Here.
Councilmember Remington.
Here.
Councilmember Hoag.
Here.
Councilmember Nafland.
Here.
Councilmember Langle.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Under additions or corrections to the agenda, under consent, please add payroll for March 5th, 2021 in the amount of $287,568.40 and claims for March 16th, 2021 in the amount of $233,558.06. Are there any council members that would like to speak this evening? So Councilmember Nafland and Remington. All right. All right, do we have a motion to approve this evening's council agenda?
Michelle Hoag, so I move that we approve the agenda.
Second, Brudnicki.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hoag and a second by Councilmember Brudnicki to approve this evening's agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. With that, do we have a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda?
So moved, McHenry.
Second, Michelle Hoag.
We have a motion by Councilmember McHenry, a second by Councilmember Hoag to approve this evening's consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And with that, we move on to comments from the audience. First of all, Clerk Wyckoff, did we receive any written comments?
We
public
did
comments?
not, and I am in the process of allowing our attendees to speak. If they would like to, they can do so now.
All right. So for those that are attending in the audience, if you would like to provide public comment this evening, you may unmute your mic and you'll have 3 minutes to share whatever you'd like to share. Great. I'm not seeing anyone that would like to speak. We'll just leave it open just another quick moment here. All right. We will go ahead and move on to scheduled items. First up is Mayor's report, and I apologize, this is going to be longer than normal. But first, I do want to read Proclamation for National Safe Place Week. Whereas Safe Place is a program that quickly connects runaway and homeless youth ages 12 to 17 to services, either by reuniting them with their family or providing them with emergency shelter, that began in 1983 and has grown to include nearly 140 programs nationally, including King County. And whereas more than 379,000 youth have been helped at a Safe Place location or received counseling as a result of the Safe Place information received at school. And whereas since the program inception in 1983, more than 15 million youth have been educated through the National Safe Place Network's outreach efforts, familiarizing them with the Safe Place sign and providing them with information about how to seek help and others to stay safe. And whereas Safe Place maintains a 24-hour hotline where youth can directly connect with Safe Place staff, and within 1 hour, a Safe Place coordinator meets with the youth, assesses the situation, and works with the youth to place them at a shelter or reunite them with parents or guardians. And whereas Friends of Youth and Youth Care have run in partnership since 2012 to provide Safe Place services for youth in crisis across King County. And whereas Metro buses, local businesses, and nonprofit organizations number among the over 2,100 places in King County that have volunteered to serve as locations where youth can go and request assistance, and where staff members are trained to respond to youth in need and immediately contact Safe Place. And whereas the success of Safe Place is based on public-private collaborations and Redmond-King County needs increased numbers of community volunteers serving as mentors and positive influences on youth people. And whereas increased awareness will engage more communities to establish safe place locations where youth can readily access the help they need. And whereas National Safe Place Week will be celebrated across the nation during the week of March 21st through March 27th, 2021. Now, therefore, I, Amy Okerlander, Mayor of the City of Duval, do hereby proclaim the week of March 21st through March 27th to be National Safe Place Week in the City of Duval, and encourage residents to volunteer as a mentor if able, and spread the word about this program to our youth. So moving on, it's been a hectic 2 weeks, I guess you could say. So first up, thank you to those council members that were in attendance at the chamber meeting on Thursday, March 4th for the State of the City address. There was a good turnout by chamber, and that video has now been posted online on our city's YouTube channel and our Facebook page as well for those that are interested in viewing the State of the City. The text will also go up online in the next few days for those that may have difficulty understanding the video. We interviewed 4 interim city administrator candidates last Monday, narrowed it down to 2. A final decision will be made tomorrow. Thank you to the Mayor Pro Tem for participating on that committee. We received a lot of strong candidates, which was honestly a surprise, being that the position is part-time and interim. So I'm very pleased with the candidates, and I trust that when a decision is made and we bring a contract forth to council, that council will be pleased with the choice as well. Obviously, we talked a little bit in committee of the whole about the National League of Cities Conference. Council members McHenry and I did attend that last week. As I mentioned in the committee of the whole, the focus was really on infrastructure and broadband and cities. While we were meeting with Senators Murray and Cantwell, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday morning, I think it was Wednesday, the House ratified the American Rescue Plan Act, which is going to bring $1.8 million to the city of Duval. That we're going to have relatively broad discretion on how to use that. At my current understanding, the final details on how we can spend that money are not out yet. And I've already been in contact with Councilmember Langle, so that once we get the information, we can start our committee going again. One of the positive things about this funding is that we should be able to backfill some of the funds that we did lose last year for ball field rentals or other items and replenish our budget, as well as it's enough significant money where we should be able to really help those in our community that are still in need, as well as potentially develop some good programs that will help with economic development potentially in the city. And that would be part of, I guess you could call it our recovery process. We did meet with Senators Murray, Cantwell, and Senator McMorris's staff, as well as Congresswoman Del Bene. I think everyone's cautiously optimistic about this coming term and being able to get things done. There's a lot more optimism from the DC side than I've seen in a long time. So that was really good. Additionally, Mr. Laniszewski and I met with Megan Utemi from Senator Murray's office. As we all know, Senator Murray's office is submitting possible projects to start to evaluate what might come forward in the member-directed spending process, as well as infrastructure bills and what have you. So their office does have that, and they will be reviewing all of them and trying to make their priorities known. We also had our Strong Mayors meeting for Sound Cities Association last Friday. So that's always a good conversation about what's going on. The topic, the most talked about topic was certainly the vaccine distribution situation in Washington State, and there are some challenges there. As Councilmember Hoag mentioned, we did attend the Sound Cities Association workshop with Jurassic Parliament on Zoom meetings last week. It was a good meeting, got some good refreshers and some things out of it. Now that we're in a different place than we were several months ago, we might want to consider bringing Ms. McFarland in to do a whole meeting for council and staff again and help us get back on track. We all get into bad habits at times. And so having the training every few years really helps refresh our protocol on that. We had on Monday, I had a pre-scheduled meeting with Fred Lutz and Kevin Stamey from WAVE as a check-in. It had been a few months since I talked to them directly and really set up the meeting to discuss what's going on with all of the federal funding and the changes to broadband and see what opportunities we might have. During the course of that meeting, they updated me on what they were sharing last September. And all of the projects that they have were set out to do have been completed. In addition, if folks have not already heard, WAVE is being sold yet again to another firm. This firm that they're being sold to, they expect the sale to close in June. And this new firm really focuses on infrastructure. Their portfolio includes a lot of energy, oil, utilities, et cetera. And both Fred and Kevin were very optimistic about further investment in our area with the new company. So that is positive. Additionally, many things that we talked about, but one of the key things I think council will be interested in is that they're ready and have the bandwidth at this point to start coming and talking to our council on a quarterly basis. So the clerk is working on scheduling those meetings so that we can have them consistently here. So that's progress and that's good. Also on Monday, the Association of Washington Cities held a webinar with Department of Health Secretary Shaw. Lots of good information coming out of DOH. We're definitely, the curve has flattened again, but we have some scary times ahead. One of the key pieces of information that was a little unnerving, but it also goes to the vaccines working for the older population, is that the biggest number of infections we're seeing right now are in the 20 to 29-year-old range. So for those with college-age students or those freshly out of college, please encourage them to continue to follow guidelines until they're vaccinated. We do have the UK and the Brazilian variants in Washington state. And so the goal right now is to stop those from becoming the dominant source. We had a meeting with the Finish 522 group this morning with Representative Sutherland. Of course, he supports the investments. It'll be interesting to see if he supports the funding, and did get to talk about Highway 203 just a little bit. We also had our daily or every other week phone call with Sound Cities and King County Public Health. As we discussed touched on a little bit in committee of the whole, vaccines are definitely becoming more readily available. The state has met their goal of 45,000 per day on a weekly average. The state is directly receiving over 360 doses per week. They're now getting a 3-week window into the direct allocations of the state, but the information that we don't have yet is how much is actually flowing directly to pharmacies. So that really increases the number of vaccines that are being distributed in the state. And if folks have been watching the COVID Find a Shot groups, you'll have noticed that there are multiple locations with hundreds of spots available. And so I think it's time for the state to reevaluate how fast those phases are moving, because the last thing we want to see is vaccines going to waste. And there has been some reporting of people just finding people to get vaccines so they don't go to waste. And that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. We had our Snow Valley Mayors meeting with SCA this morning. It was Mayor Lisk and I and Deanna Dawson from SCA. Our primary topic was vaccines and vaccine distribution. So that's the hot topic this week. Upcoming, we have the Sound Cities Board meeting tomorrow and the Executive Committee meeting next week. The 522 Coalition is meeting with Senator Stanford, Senator Wagner, Representative Eslick, Representative Kloba, and others to discuss 522 and the transportation budget. And then I'm hoping to start scheduling meetings with legislators on 203 here in the coming week. So when I get those scheduled, I'll send out calendar invites, and whoever wants to attend would be more than welcome to participate. And the more of us that can be there without a quorum, the better. So I did give an update on COVID. I think one of the key things to remember is that, people are starting tomorrow, our grocery workers can get vaccinated. So that's a huge step forwards. But we still have a long ways to go. My husband and I did go out in Duval on Friday night, and I was absolutely amazed at how many people were out sitting outside and frequenting our businesses. So we're seeing, I think in talking to some of the business owners, they're seeing a big uptick in the amount of customers they have, which is great for the economy. I do worry a little bit about people going out too much and starting to spread the virus a little more. And the best thing we can do is keep following those guidelines until we have that herd immunity so that we don't roll backwards. I think we all want to see our local economy survive and thrive. And so we still have to have precaution. So sorry for the length. Obviously it's been busy as always, but does anybody have any questions? Councilmember Lingle?
Just to clarify, what projects did you submit to Patty Murray's office?
After conversations with Megan Utimi, we submitted 3rd Avenue. That's most likely to be closest to shovel ready and has a public safety component as well as the mobility as well.
And that was for transportation or earmark?
There is no specification as to her current form. The other, she's just literally at this point gathering project information on things that people are interested in getting funded.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Hoag?
So could you share how people find shots? You said find a shot group, because
Yeah.
I'd like to know, because I think I went online to see if I qualified yet, and I don't, right? So it's like I know there's shots available out there, so I'd like to know.
There are. So there is a group of volunteers, and I'm going to see if I can find the name of it. Hold on just a minute. It'll take me a second, so please bear with me.
I can share something.
You want it? Go for it.
I had 4 people help me try to find an appointment, and that's what did it. They were on all different places, and you have to refresh constantly. You have to refresh your screen, and I had people at all day long with their computers open or their laptops or their phone looking for me and waiting, because all of them had their vaccines already, so they were trying to help me get one. And it took 4 people doing that.
So I just found the Facebook group official title. It's a Facebook group called Find a COVID Shot Washington. And so if you're not a member and we're personal friends on Facebook, I'm happy to invite you. They have volunteers. And in fact, one of them is from the city of Duval that, as Councilmember Brudnicki said, are scouring the sites and finding open locations, because frankly, nobody has time to sit online all day and find them. So for example, yesterday all day there were posts talking about hundreds of vaccines available in certain areas, and they were trying to get people to sign up and go and get vaccinated. The challenge is the states. With the state website, you go to each individual site. It's not a centralized system. My understanding is that the federal government is working on that and should have something launched soon, but the vaccinations are happening quickly enough. It may be too late. We'll see. But the part of the challenge right now is not having that centralized, easy to access location. They're all operating differently. And that creates an access issue for sure. So I'm pleased that Councilmember Brudnicki was able to find an appointment. So if anybody does want to be invited to that group that's not already invited, please let me know and I'll make sure you get that invitation. And that includes anyone listening online as well. If you go to my mayor's Facebook page, I can send you a private message with the group name. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Schaefer.
Yeah, just a comment, not a question. let's see, at the Chamber of Commerce meeting, our own mayor presented the third annual State of the City. You touched on that briefly, Mayor, but I really wanted to state that that was an excellent message. There's a lot of content in it. I actually took a couple pages of notes just on your talk alone, and it was very substantive. So thank you for that. It got a lot of good, positive information out to that group of people, and I know I appreciate it. I know everyone appreciated it. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. If there aren't any more questions or comments, we'll move on to Councilmember Napland.
So I have a couple items. I'll try to be quick. The first one is I sent an email before the meeting, just forwarded. We have a community member who is an amazing advocate for low-income seniors, and she has been working back and forth with WAVE, trying to encourage them to expand their offering. And anyway, I forwarded it just to let everyone know what's going on. And I just wanted to express my appreciation for the work that Mayor Okerlander has done advocating, and also just how grateful I am that we have a community member as well who's advocating. So hopefully we can get something to happen. I think the sticking point is, you know, it's only available to new customers, and we have members of our community where it's getting harder and harder to afford to stay here. And, you know, internet is kind of a necessity. We're just talking about trying to find COVID shots, and you basically need the internet to do that. So anyway, I'll let you guys look at that. I sent that email just a few hours, I think, before the meeting. So the second thing I wanted to just mention is well, it was a few weeks ago, I think it was March 1st, we got sent an email. I assume everyone else is getting this. It's from the Department of Local Services. And it's a great little update. I love it. I live inside City of Duval, but it has great information for our area. And what they were requesting in the last email was responses to, it's kind of like a little form that's online where you can let them know what your needs are, broken down by different geographical areas. And we are in the Snoqualmie Valley, Northeast King County community. And so they're creating this community needs list, and there's a process where they will go and they will prioritize. And I don't know if everyone in the greater Duval area and the unincorporated areas know about this survey, but this would be a great opportunity, I think, to work together as City of Duval and our unincorporated Duvalians and people in Carnation, everyone who subscribes to the City of Duval website, to also be made aware of this. This could be a great way for our rural residents to say, hey, 203, it's a disaster. The Novelty Hill, it's congestion. You know, this is how we are going to get King County to know about these issues. And a lot of times the residents are, you know, in the unincorporated area are asking the city to solve this problem. And really they should be asking King County. Well, they can ask us too, and we can advocate, but it takes a lot of people to get these types of things done. So the more advocacy we can get from our residents, the better. So anyway, I don't know if that is something that we could put on the City of Duval Facebook page to talk about the survey and how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that we posted something a few months back because it's been open for quite a while, but we can certainly do something again. So if you send me the email, and I didn't get the other email that you were referring to earlier, that you sent a few hours earlier, but yeah, just send me the current details on it, and it's easy, we can post it.
Okay. What I did notice is it looked like Fall City had a lot of items on the need on the list. So I think we need to catch up. So hopefully we can encourage the north end of the territory to put some requests in. So thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, and the email, it was, you were already on the distribution. And so that same email that I
okay, gotcha.
the council didn't see.
Perfect, no problem. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Remington.
Thank you, Mayor. March is National Women's History Month. It started off as a week back in 1980 when President Carter provided the following proclamation. He said, from the first settlers who came to our shores, from the first American Indian families who befriended them, men and women have worked together to build this nation. Too often the women were unsung, and sometimes their contribution went unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose names we know so well. It is an essential and indispensable heritage from which we can draw pride, comfort, courage, and long-range vision. And then he asked Americans to help recognize it. So that week has turned into a month-long now. And I think it's particularly important here in Duval that we take just a moment to recognize the leadership that women have played in our long history in Duval. Many of the things that both helped build the foundation for our city were led by women in our community. And currently, I think is a great example, our Mayor Okerlander. We have 50% of our directors, Director Laura Thomas from Community Development and Director Dana Mason, our Finance Director, Jody White City. Certainly our council members, the majority, including Councilmember Lengel, Councilmember Hogue, Councilmember Naplin, Councilmember Brudnicki, and Councilmember McHenry are just setting an outstanding example for other women, and I might say for us men to follow as well. So I just wanted to thank you for your service, and as we all recognize the importance in our lives that you play. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That was very kind. All right, we'll move on to council committee reports. First up is Finance and Administration with Chair Remington.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, we were going to talk a little bit just to give a little bit of an overview of what we've been working on, and I'll reschedule that for a future meeting. We're continuing to work. The work is not done. We have got a foundational piece. We've looked at many other cities. Most have their finance policies, procurement policies in place. So I think we're in a good position, but we still have a fair amount of work. The plan going forward is that we will bring all this information, a draft for all of council to review. Likely that'll be a council work session for 3 or 4 hours. It'll be the only item so that we can really dive in. This is just a hugely important document for us. It covers a great deal of areas. I look forward to you being able to see it just because it's pretty in depth. And I think it'll help guide us well into the future. So with that, I won't go into a lot of detail on it because we'll have a chance later, but that's our brief update. Certainly if you have questions, there's a lot of information that we have posted on the committee website. And I believe Director Mason has posted the draft that we're working on. So if you're really interested in looking and seeing directly, you're welcome to do that. There's nothing hidden here. And then we'll bring it forward more formally in the near future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next up is Land Use with Chair Hogue.
Thank you, Mayor. So we did have a land use committee meeting on March 5th, and we worked on all the finalization of the community survey, and we discussed how it was going to get out to the public, and it actually went live on the 12th. So I'm not sure how it's gone since, if we've had lots of response, but it's out there now. And we also spent some time going over growth targets and community benefits for conditional use permits. Our next meetings coming up are March 24th and March 31st. They'll be run by Troy Davis. And on the 24th, we're going to be going over growth targets phase 3. We're going to be talking about the temporary sign memo And on the 31st, we'll be discussing Rio Vista Park Plan update. So that's it.
All right. Are there any questions for Chair Hoag? Councilmember Schaefer.
Again, not a question, a comment. I'm very excited about that survey and seeing some of the results from that. I think it's important for us as a council to really understand what our citizens are thinking and our community is thinking. And, you know, I have my own opinion, but this will give us some data to back that up. So thanks everyone for working on that and getting it out.
Thank you. Moving on to Public Works with Chair McHenry.
We had a meeting on March 10th and we talked about a lot of stuff. So I'll just kind of blow through it here. Hopefully it won't take too much time. We had an update on the Tolt water main, just with the property acquisition. They hired a row specialist to assist, which was under $8,000, working with King County on permitting, and they're hoping to be construction ready in about July-ish. Just a follow up on the water comprehensive plan update. Sounds like we'll probably maybe be bringing that to a cow again to talk about a little bit more. And pretty exciting that King County Youth Sports Grant, they accepted our grant request for the Sunshade Project at Big Rock Ballfields Playground. And they're also requesting funding from WCIA for safety. And so let's see, the overlay program we need to launch. We're advertising for an engineer to design the project. Government facilities RFP, there were team interviews on Thursday, March 11th, as you heard already in the cow. They're buying a push and riding mower, which is budgeted under equipment. Let's see, there was tank inspection, cleaning and repair, and I don't think there was much to report. The work's complete, tanks were pretty clean. With the Duval depot, we're moving forward still, pouring next week, which is super exciting. They reviewed the critter infestation we had before. Everything looks fine. They're still waiting for access inside. So they're just gonna keep on top of that and just make sure, being so close to the river, it's inevitable, it might happen again. So I think just being really preventative about it is key. The WWTP reuse pump skid is complete. Pump and control cabinet was built. The UV disinfection, the system needs replacement. So WWTP staff has advised this needs to be done ASAP. For annual TIP, there is update of the 2018 capacity report. Rough timeline would be this goes to Planning Commission in April, public hearing in May or June, adopting sometime in June or July before submitting to Washington State Department of Transportation in July. The Npdes annual update, whole bunch of dates on there. I won't read them all off, but that's moving along and there's just a whole process that they have outlined there. And staff position update and proposed changes. 2 candidates were offered positions as parks workers. Their next will be advertising summer helpers as well as the engineering intern as well. And under good of the order, they're still just following up on, you know, making sure the giant sequoias down by Safeway are in good health and that we're doing everything we can to, you know, keep them healthy. We talked about turf maintenance at Big Rock Ballfields, which is doing well. It seemed like everything's looking pretty good there. And then also brought road striping again and just that process and how we gradually try to keep refreshing the striping on the roads. So that's all I have for Public Works.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Chair McHenry? Seeing none, we'll move on to ad hoc. Are there any reports for the City Council ethics policy or the Human Services grant policy tonight? Councilmember Hook.
Oh, Councilmember McHenry and I met with our attorney, Mr. Kenny, to review the ethics policy. And he brought to our attention that many items on the policy are already in state law. And there are a lot of things in there that are suggested ethics, not necessarily law. There is some revisions that need to be made to the gifting section. because of that, one of his thoughts, and I guess we'd have to ask council how they feel about this, is that maybe this just needs to be, a lot of the things that we've incorporated on or added to this ethics policy needs to be incorporated into our council procedures. And I know that's something that we're going to be working on soon. So if council wants to go that route, maybe it's something we have to discuss at a council meeting, but or at a COW, but we'd like to maybe form a committee, and Councilmember McHenry and I are willing to be on it if we wanted to add a third person or start a whole new committee to do the procedures. And one of my questions I have is whether we need, like, is there going to be a staff person that would be a good person for us to help work on these procedures? And I don't know if Councilmember McHenry or our attorney have any other things they want to add to our meeting. I know we still need to have a meeting with the mayor as well, so.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Councilmember Hoag said. I think if we were going to look at this as a whole of the procedures, it would be a really good idea to bring on a third council member because that's a pretty big deal. And, you know, we've been talking about updating those anyways, but, you know, I think a big topic for us was the efficiency of it. You know, if we're just referencing back to state law that could then change, you know, in the future, it's less to update. You know, we don't have to update it every time if we're just regurgitating something that's already in state law. So I think we could look at that as a whole. And yeah, I just think it'd be a little more efficient and simpler that way.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Mr. Kenny?
No, I don't think so. I think I concur. We had a great conversation, and I think there's good things that could be brought into the council rules of procedure and kind of integrate the two documents together and kind of streamline them. So yeah, I'm all on board and happy to help.
The only thing I forgot to mention is that one thing that Mr. Kenny had mentioned is that it's kind of hard to, we were kind of trying to decide what to do with I guess what it would be the ramifications of you know, not following the ethics policy, right? And so it's a problem, I guess, going after council member for their ethics, you know, is, you know, and I don't know if you wanted to add to that, Mr. Kenny, but
Sure. Just real quick, we didn't dive, you know, too deep into that topic in our conversation, but you know, because a lot of the policies that were in the draft ethics policy were encouraged, it's a little bit hard to know when somebody would truly be in violation of something and what should happen for that. And then the remainder of the policies that were included in that are largely stem from state law. And so there's already kind of a structure in place for those. So again, I think we could still include a lot of those elements and make sure that everybody's aware of their obligations under state law for a whole range of different things that you all do great. But and then also can encourage things on kind of, you know, the aspirational how we want to conduct our business, but it would be less an ethics violation that, you know, you'd need investigation into or something like that. It would more be conduct of business.
Councilmember Lingle.
Wait a minute. Yeah, one of the things I've never been, I guess, clear about is, because I can see that integrating something in procedures is really important, but I've never understood if this is a city council only ethics policy or how an ethics policy like this would relate to, say, the planning commission and, you know, those important appointments that a mayor makes. Is it an elected officials ethics policy or is it only specific to city council?
Well, it can look different depending on how you want it to look. And so that can be part of a further discussion. Obviously, if it's in the council rules of procedure, it's going to be more council focused.
Right.
Could have it cover the commissions. You could have it cover other elected officials, the mayor. So yeah, we can talk about, full scope of that, but certainly the streamlined version of the integration would be a council related thing.
Mayor Pro Tem Remington and then Councilmember Schaefer.
Thank you, Mayor. We've been working on updating our council procedures. I think it's a great idea to just have a section in there under ethics. We could certainly relate to state law, but I think it's important to actually spell it out, even if we had to go back from time to time and update it. I think it's a good teaching tool for new council members as well. Good for all of us to just review now and then. And it's a way to inform the public that we have a great responsibility as council members to conduct ourselves ethically. I think that if you wanted, these similar ethics ideas incorporated for all city employees, that would just simply be in a employee manual where that could be spelled out as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Schaefer and then Councilmember Brodnicki.
Let's see. First of all, I like the idea of not repeating information or data that's at the state level. My question, though, Dan, is what applicability does the state code of ethics have for the city, specifically city council members and the mayor? Does that directly apply to us, or how is that done?
So what I was referring to are actual state laws for how you conduct business, gifting and things like that. And so we'll be able to reference directly, and if desired, as Mayor Pro Tem Remington said, we can put more meat on those bones as a tool. Certainly hope that a lot of those things aren't going to change too often in state law, but you never know. And so we can keep an eye on that. But yeah, so we can have sections on the applicable. So it's less ethics policy and more conduct that would be required.
I see. Yeah, no, that helps me a lot. Maybe I wasn't listening well, but we reference state laws so much the better then. And by the way, I'd be glad to help with that if we want to try a divide and conquer method, or however best works.
Thank you. Councilmember Brodnicki.
So from the many years of observing a lot of different people in government, electeds, and I think the policies are important because I remember back in the old days when things were, we were small city, and we've grown since then. And it would be good to have something written as a guideline, and therefore the people who are participating in governance would understand what is appropriate and what they need to follow, because without that, there becomes that abstraction in those vague and gray areas, and then things start to occur that are not good, especially in a small city, and especially where we have a form of government that gives a lot of power to our council and to our mayor. So I would, if you need help, I would be more than happy, because I can provide a history in case you're wondering, like, what would be appropriate, what would we need, so that we don't repeat some of the things in the past, and we can remain on a good straight and narrow going forward. So I'd be happy to provide help, join you in that endeavor if you need that.
Thank you. Councilmember Napland.
Yeah, just real quick, I would like to see an overview of the state law, and then make sure it's distinct from more of a code of conduct. Aspirational sounds weak, but more encouraged what is a professional way ethically to behave, things like that. And I think that's part of the reason we got a little bit derailed on the ethics policy, is because it was a little bit it was a little muddy between, you know, what was the law, what was, you know, some of the things could be a little nuanced, and you worry you could get into a political season that there could be a lot of finger pointing and it'd be very difficult to navigate. And so to have it very clear, here is the law, which I think can be very cut and dry, black and white. And then the other things that are more encouraged, to separate those so that you wouldn't get into kind of this constant gray area. Anyway, I'm excited this is being worked on. I think it's, I'm just looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember, were there any other questions on this one? Okay, I think I may have accidentally gone over public safety. Chairman Nikki, did you have a report for public safety?
No, I did the last meeting, and we won't meet. We don't have a meeting currently, so nothing to report.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you. So now we'll move on to the administration update by Ms. Thomas. Oh, Councilmember McHenry.
Sorry, it's not much of an update, but I just wanted to quickly mention for the Human Services Grant Policy that Councilmember Hogue, myself met with Sherry James as well as Director Mason, and we made some good progress. I think we have another meeting or two ahead of us to get through it all, but we went through a lot of the policy and started identifying some small tweaks and changes and improvements we can make. So that's all I have.
Thank you. All right, now it's your turn, Ms. Thomas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening, it'll be pretty quick update. We have some good information. Community development, the last couple of weeks, we've had a record number of inspections, so we're definitely ramped up. We have about 150 units under construction. We're also ramping up our policy this year. As you remember from our work plan for community development, we're looking at conditional use permit policies, temporary use, temporary signs, wireless facility, and franchise agreements. And so we started a kickoff with really more of informational memos. And so you remember we've seen the conditional use permit memo in the written report. We walked through it with our land use committee, and the next meeting we'll actually go through temporary signs, and then we'll just kind of work our way through that. I had a kickoff meeting for wireless facilities today with our team and our one of our attorneys. I don't need to go over the government facilities plan because Sean did a great job on that. The interim city administrator, the mayor, took care of that. But just to give a quick update on growth targets, we had a caucus meeting last week. We have completed our phase 4 information, and that will go through our land use committee. Senior planner Troy Davis will go through that information with the committee. The next steps are for the GMPC, which is essentially it's part of under the King County umbrella, the Growth Management Planning Committee. The documents now will go to them on March 31st and then again on the 28th. This first step is for them to review all of the caucus's work. And if they're satisfied with that work, they'll start a public comment period, which is about 30 days. And then they'll come back and look at and review the comments, see if there needs to be any additional changes made. And then that'll happen at the 4/28 meeting. And then during the month of April and May, they'll issue a SEPA determination, which is required because it's a growth management policy. And then PSRC will receive a transmittal sometime in June, and then final ratification by the county and the cities is expected in the fall. I wanted to, this is just kind of a snapshot again of the growth management survey. You saw that we created a poster internally, and we've made copies of those, and we've started actually taking them out to businesses this week. We also have a QR code, and then we also have a link that you can go to. I hope this works. It did for Planning Commission last week. So let's see, whoops. Let's see if it, there we go. Oh, maybe, oh, darn it. Sorry, there we go. So hopefully it won't ruin my computer. So do you see the survey?
Not yet.
Oh, darn it. I don't know. It worked with Give me just a second. I was hoping it would work. Okay, can you see the survey now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what the survey looks like. If you haven't taken it yet, please do so. And we did have a little bit of a glitch yesterday, as you are aware. 365 went down worldwide in some locations, and we were one of those locations. And because we use a Microsoft 365 product, people were not able to take the survey for hopefully not too long of a period of time. I talked with Councilmember Naplin today, and we have north of 200 responses, which is pretty good considering we just pushed it out on Friday. So that completes my admin report for today. I will be going on vacation for a bit. I sent out an email to council. If you have any questions on the admin report, I can take them now.
Any questions for Ms. Thomas? Okay, seeing none, I'm glad that she's getting out for vacation. It's well deserved. And I hope that she and her family have a wonderful time, and don't look at your email.
Yeah, right. Anyway, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
All right, moving on to King County Fire District 45 with David Burke, our fire chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the community. I'm happy to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the fire department and what's been going on with us. As far as calls go, we had a below average February, which is a good thing. We only ran 73 calls, and that's about 14 behind our 5-year average for the same time period. Sadly to say, our crews have run several full arrests over the last few weeks, and one included the help from the Duval Police Department. And I would like to say thank you to them, one, because they support those types of calls, and we really appreciate their help. But then also, Officer Clark forwarded a letter of recognition to me, citing the professionalism and efficiency of our crew. And I'm very pleased to say that the patient was converted and a pulse was returned. And so that's a really good thing. And again, I really appreciate the fact that the police have the defibrillators and their people are willing to respond and to go help us in the community, because selfishly in King County, we boast the greatest resuscitation rate in the world. And that's only made possible because other employees as well as citizens are willing to do bystander CPR and help convert. And so it's rare that we get one of these success stories, and I just wanted to share that and say thanks to PD. Also, we respond regularly to patients that are struggling with mental health challenges. Recently, we ran 2 different potential suicides, and we were able to intervene and help the patients reach the help that they needed. And I've got to say that I'm being deliberately ambiguous with what I'm telling you, because it's necessary to maintain patient confidentiality, but it's important to recognize and thank not only the police department, but the firefighters and responders for their compassion and care. And I think it's that teamwork that makes a difference, much in the same way that the full arrest, the outcome is there. It's also with mental health. And, a lot of people are talking about the pandemic and the long-term ramifications of that. And I won't go into all that other than to say, our community hurts, and the best that we can do for one another, whether it's police and fire, whether it's a community member, and I'm sorry to be a little bit corny, but just a simple smile at somebody as you pass them in the store goes a long way right now. And so I appreciate that when I see it. A lot of changes are going on for us right now. As of this Friday, we're going to lose 2 of our non-uniformed personnel. Terry in the front office has been with us for about 13, 14 years, and she's retiring. So congratulations to her. And she leaves some very, very big shoes to fill. She does a lot of things really, really well for us, and she will be surely missed. We're also losing our half-time inspector. He's taking a job with the city of Redmond, and that's very unfortunate, but we wish him well. We appreciate what he's done. And to give you a little insight on that, we're reworking both of those job descriptions, one to make sure that they're applicable, It's always a good time to do when you have a vacancy. But then two, I think part of the weakness that we had in that inspector's position was that it was a half-time position. And so I'll be working with the board and we'll see what that looks like. And that's also a real good segue into my next personnel change. I think for the last couple of years, you've heard me talk about our vacant deputy chief position. We've had an interim that we brought in out of the labor group that did a great job. But then when we opened the new station, we didn't have the personnel to be able to fill that internally. So we're in the middle of a national search, and we've named 4 of our finalists, 3 of which have inspector experience and code experience. So I'm very hopeful that maybe one of those will bring some of that necessary knowledge into the community and help with some of the things that are going on. As was mentioned earlier, with the growth and all the inspections and the permits and things like that, we really want to try to help and ease that stress and tension. So as that looks like, I've been traveling quite a bit. I just returned. I was in 3 time zones today, coming back from Ohio, visiting with one of our finalists there. I have 2 in the state of Washington and then 1 in Oregon that I'll be visiting with. I'm doing site visits for each of them. We will name 2 finalists that we will bring in for panel interviews on the 13th of April. And I'm hopeful that we'll have somebody new and on board as early as May 17th. Depending on their schedule and personal services agreement and conditional offer, such medical psych, those types of things. So I will be happily sharing more information with you as we get closer to that. I could talk about a lot of things, but the last thing I want to leave you with, and it relates to the calls I mentioned earlier, is there are a lot of people in this community that are doing a lot of good. And selfishly, I'll say some of those are our people in uniform, but it's not just our people. It's not just the police. It's the people that work for the city as well. And you know what? I just want to say thank you to people for taking care of one another. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions from council or the mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Does anyone on council have any questions? Councilmember Schaefer.
Again, not so much a question, but a comment, but thank you, Chief, for the update. That was very good to hear. As you may know, I'm new to council. So for me, it's great to hear from our fire department what's going on there. Since it's not directly part of our city, I do want to understand what your challenges are and what what your fire station's been up to, et cetera. So thanks for the update.
Well, I appreciate that. And let me just say welcome to the new members. And once we get to a certain level where our building's open and people are comfortable or whatever, I still extend the tour invitation to the council. And I think that's imperative. We've had turnover with the membership and other city staff as well. And what we do is we belong to the community. And so our doors don't belong closed unless, like right now in a pandemic, we don't have much choice, but we want people to see what we do and explain how we do it. And so I welcome that time where you can come in and have a walk around and we can talk about what we do.
Great. And I'll be there. I'll take you up on that offer. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, I miss your pancake feed a lot. So I'm looking forward to that again too.
Well, and I should have also, I believe I said it earlier this year in one of my previous reports, because of all the logistics and the planning that go into that, even if the governor's directive lifted today, there's no way we could pull it together for June. And so we had to pull the plug for this year as well. And I'm so sorry for that, because it how many years, in a row that we've had that, and we love having the people here in the station, but yeah, we do what we have to do.
Yeah, and we'll be looking forward to it next year.
Yeah, we as well.
Well, thank you, Chief Burke, and thank you for bringing up the really important issue of mental health during this really challenging time. I think there are many people that were doing okay that are not doing as okay now. Some that struggled at the beginning that aren't struggling now, and some that have been struggling all the way through. And it's a really important issue. And if anything comes out of this, I hope that it's that society begins to recognize mental health is healthcare, and that it's just as important as getting your annual checkup with your doctor. And sometimes even more important, because untreated mental health challenges can lead to physical challenges as well. And it can really disrupt a life, even if with mild challenges. You know, on a personal level, I'm one that does live with depression and anxiety. And I just want to share with the public that it's okay to feel the way that you do feel. And there are people to help, your doctors, friends and neighbors. Medication, there aren't enough therapists, but hopefully as legislation moves forward, it'll those things will start to become more readily available. And we know that there's going to be a complete generation of trauma from what we've experienced in the past year, and how we move forward to address that is going to be critical to especially our kids' success in the future. So thank you very much for bringing that important topic forward.
Mayor, Chief Hurt has his hand up.
You do? Okay, Chief Hurt.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Chief Burke, I just wanted to make a couple comments. First of all, when you speak of mental health, you know, our officers, just like your firefighters, have gone through certainly a lot of changes through COVID and a lot of mental health stuff. You know, in the beginning of COVID, I certainly appreciate and understand why you had to close your facility to our folks who you've graciously allowed to use your workout facility for so many years, and certainly understand and appreciate that. And as soon as you were able to bring it back, you did, and it certainly is beneficial to the mental health of our staff, not just to use your facility, but to engage with your folks again. So I appreciate that. I can't say enough of the partnerships that you and I have had for so many years, and I appreciate it. I did have a question, and I don't want to put you on the spot. If you're not comfortable or not ready to share that information, it's fine. I was just curious if you could share with council. You mentioned doing a national search for your deputy chief position. What's that look like as far as timeline and cost wise? I mean, it's not a cheap process, so if you're not comfortable sharing it, I understand, but I think it's a beneficial piece of information for council to have.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to share that. And in all transparency, it's public record at this point. We entered into a professional services agreement with the Proclamation company. And this was after we had gone out nationally on our own 2 different times. And I have to tell you, to be honest, for whatever reason right now, it's a employees market right now as far as chief fire officers. And that's for a lot of reasons. And some of it's speculation, some's national trend, but a lot of people are hesitant to leave the security of the labor group and go to an at-will employee. And then there's the question of overtime versus salary, and you can make more money as an hourly employee. And then again, just the security of the times, you know, change. People fear change, especially in the middle of a pandemic and the rest of that. So you add all those compounding factors together, and we did not get the applications that we had the last time when we hired Joel Coonan. We had quite a few applicants and people to choose from, and so we didn't get very many. So we elected to go with Prothman. I think the commissioners approved up to $25,000 for that process, and we have not had to go back for that. And I'm not an advertisement for them. We went out for bid. We considered multiple agencies, and all of the people that we considered had, I guess, a menu of items of what they would do or we could choose to do. And so we kind of picked and choose a little bit, and that's why I'm doing some of the traveling myself. One thing that the fire department that we're very, I guess, it's a huge priority for us is fit. You know, if somebody has most of the certifications and the training that we need, we can send them to get more. If they need experience, we can help them get experience. But what I found over my career, the hardest thing to do is to find somebody that has the right approach, the attitude towards the community and towards service and training and succession planning and all those things that make up our culture. That to me is what I need the most of out of a potential employee. And that's even at the entry level, it's any level. And so because of that, we kind of tweaked the I guess, the menu, if you will, from the different contractors. And we wanted to be actively involved with it, as well as we needed their help in some of the advertising and research and background stuff, et cetera. So to your second part of the question about timeline, we posted right after Christmas, right before the first of the year, and we were ready to post before then, but that was a strategic decision that was recommended by the consultant to us because of the timing when people look for jobs. We posted, we screened the applications. We're at the point now where we've named, let's see, we reviewed, I think, 11 strong applicants, and from that I took to 4. And of the 4, I'm doing site visits where I'm doing professional references, personal references, talking to mutual aid, neighboring communities that they run with, the Rotary Club, the Chamber, those types of things, just because what's so important to us is community, right? And so it's not just running a call, it's what you do in between the calls. And so we're trying to get an understanding of how that works. Our hope, I think I mentioned this earlier, but we'll have our final panel interviews on Tuesday, the 13th of April. Hopefully I'll be introducing a candidate that will be moving forward at the commissioners meeting on the morning of the 14th. We'll work with the conditional terms of the employment, the medical, psych, the final background piece, the personal services agreement and the rest of that. And hopefully we can do that within a month. And that's where I mentioned that May 17th would be probably the soonest we'd see somebody on board, but likely it could be the first part of June, depending on their specific scenario. But I can tell you, after being without a full-time person in that role for a couple of years, I am in strong need of help, especially with everything with the new station, all the construction and things that are going on, the calls, and now with other employees that we're having to shop for, there's a lot going on for us. So I'm looking forward to having some help.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Did that give you what you needed, Chief?
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chief Burke. Moving on, we do not have any presentations this evening, but we do have a public hearing for the City of Duval Npdes Stormwater Management Program. With that, I will open the public hearing, and Mr. Lenashevsky, it's all you.
Sorry. Good evening, Steve Lenashevsky, Public Works. I pushed presentation mode and it blocked, of course, my window into our meeting. Okay, good evening. Share my screen. Okay, everybody sees a big Western Washington Phase 2 Npdes permit slide?
Yep.
Right, so Npdes 2, I know we all love acronyms around here, especially Pro Tem Remington. So National Pollution Discharge Elimination Program, stormwater management, and all it entails. I'll try not to look too far to the left. I have a bunch of screens here. So annually, we are required to report to the Department of Ecology due March 31st. We are obligated to have public involvement, solicit participation in our program, and then, of course, file our reports. So this is the city's not required public hearing, but it is an easy way to accomplish the needs of the program. And we do take solicitation all year. It is on our website. The link is there for the public. And we will take comments up to tonight's meeting, as well as any that linger in through the 30th, and we will report and submit on the 31st. Very programmatic work. Sarah Rulin in our office, as well as Larissa Blanco, are the ones who do the majority of the work, as well as the crew who is the eyes and the ears and the repairs on the streets. So the background, we were associated and became a Phase 2 permit city in 2007. Phase 1 rolled out earlier than that and was affecting all the larger jurisdictions, the Bellevues, the Seattles of our area. So our permit requires stormwater planning, public education and outreach, public involvement and participation, MS4 mapping and documentation, illicit discharge detection and elimination, controlling runoff from new development, redevelopment, and construction sites, operations and maintenance, and then source control program for existing development. Not all of that or any of that is really new to what we do. It is just all now documented in one place, one concise location, and of course required of our permit from the Department of Ecology annually. So the big part, which has been somewhat difficult with COVID, is the outreach. We have handouts, rain gauges, pencils, coloring books. We normally do certainly handouts at Earth Day, which unfortunately is canceled this year, which would normally be coming up in the next couple weeks. We normally get into the elementary school classrooms. We have a big 3-foot square kind of terrain model of an area showing houses, streams, creeks, how it all interacts. You spray water around and watch where the water goes, and the kids get to play around. That's been a good program we've had to suspend as well. So we have a new approach we're working on and getting that out to the community, targeting public and businesses, working with neighboring jurisdictions. We are partnered in Adopt a Drain program. We have our own area-based permit requirements, stewardship opportunities, and participating in Stormwater website and email is active. The illicit discharge and detection and elimination program it's very active. It's not only construction sites and maintaining land movement and those types of construction activities. It is also active spill response. Accidents occur. We have after hours call for the crew if our firefighter or our police friends are on a call after hours, and we've had rollovers where now you have oil all over the ground. So that's part of our program, and they call the number, the guys come out. We have to keep that stuff out of the system. We have some chemical treatments to eliminate, as well as pads and other grains like cat litter type of materials. But we're involved with spill responses. We screen outfalls, catch basin screening, construction site inspections, and then public and private facility inspections. Controlling runoff from development. That is not a new activity, but it is just a documented requirement of the permit. We do go by and have adopted the King County Surface Water Manual for our design features for new development. We have inspections we do annually, making sure the systems stay in good shape, as well as we remove hydrocarbon and other natural sediments that collect in the systems. We have inspections. We are moving forward this spring, summer as required adoption next year for Duval Municipal Code updating. We don't have a lot of strong enforcement language in our code, which is a requirement as of next year, but Larissa would like to tackle that this summer for enforcement and action implementation starting in the wet season of 2021 in the fall when we go into winter construction. Municipal operations and maintenance. So our staff are trained in many things, of which stormwater management, erosion and sediment control and reduction, and then spill cleanup and prevention are part of that. The little map you see, every green dot, which is kind of messy on the map there, you don't really tell, but those are catch basins in the city. We have to maintain all of those. We do inspect those annually, as well as vector them out every other year. We had gotten to it every year, and it seems now that is a highly functioning program, and we stick to the main arterials, and it's also weather dependent. The more sand we put down for snow events, the more sediment we have on our major roads, but the crew handles that really well, and the system is in really good shape as far as its sediment removal and its capture potential. So we train staff, we inspect. We're updating the standards this year. We're updating Department of Ecology required standards as well. Annual catch basin cleaning and continued record keeping, improvements in asset management software implementation. Future permit considerations of the obligations from Department of Ecology. We will always utilize staff and funds to improve water quality and most effectively comply with the permit requirements. We do obtain grants from the Department of Ecology that we do utilize for our program and our work. We'll continue code and policy revisions, continue catch basin and outfall screening, and using of funds for facility cleaning, which I mentioned. So not running through that quickly for any other reason than the plan itself is on our website. If anybody has questions or comments, please submit them in email or call Larissa or Sarah as listed on the website by March 30th. And the intent is to open and close the hearing tonight, provide this for you, and then the community can access everything they need on our stormwater website on duvalbond.gov.
Thank you, Mr. Laniszewski. And with that, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment this evening?
Sorry, let me allow them to talk. It was a little bit slow.
That's okay.
Okay, now everybody should be able to speak if they would like to.
All right, so if there's anybody on from the members of the public that are listening or watching that would like to provide public comment on the Npdes Stormwater Management Program, feel free to unmute yourself and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay. I'm not seeing any. So with that, we will close the public hearing and move on to our 3 items of new business. The first one is Agenda Bill 20-27A, confirm Mayor Okerlander's appointment of Melissa Krufka, I hope I said that right, to position 3 of the Duval Library Board, a vacant position expiring 12/31/2023. Would someone in council like to make a motion?
So move, Brednicki.
Second, Councilmember Hoag.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brednicki and a second by Councilmember Hoag to confirm Melissa Krufka to position 3 of the Duval Library Board. Any discussion? Councilmember Naplin?
I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of the appointments for tonight for the library board. I love the library. I actually can't wait till it opens. I feel like it's essential. So hopefully that can happen soon. But anyway, we're just very grateful for your volunteering for this position. So thanks.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And Ms. Krufka, would you like to say a moment? Say anything to the group?
Hi, I'm Missy Krufka. You said it right. I'm very excited to join the board. I'm a middle school teacher at
Sorry.
Oh, you cut out there a little bit.
Yes, okay.
I teach at Tolt in the middle school, and I'm just very excited to join the board and get involved. So thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the board and thank you for volunteering your time.
Thank you.
Moving on to Agenda Bill 20-28A, confirm Mayor Okerlander's appointment of Wendy Pierce to position 4 of the Duval Library Board, a vacant position expiring 12/31/23.
So move.
Second.
Brednicki.
Second, McHenry.
We have a motion by Councilmember Brednicki and a second by Councilmember McHenry to confirm appointment of Wendy Pierce to position 4 of the Duval Library Board. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And Ms. Pierce, if you're on, if you would like to address the group, you're more than welcome to. I'm seeing her stay on mute, so I'm taking that as a cue. And we'll go ahead and move on to Agenda Bill 20-29A, confirm Mayor Okerlander's appointment of Amy Wilder to position 5 of the Duval Library Board, a vacant position expiring 12/31/2022. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Councilmember Hoag.
We have a motion by Councilmember McHenry, a second by Councilmember Hoag. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And Ms. Wilder, would you like to address the group?
I'll just say that I'm really excited to participate, and also that this meeting has been really interesting and eye-opening for me. I've lived in Duval almost 7 years and I've never attended a council meeting before. So I'm really glad to have had this experience. Thank you.
Thank you, and we hope you attend more. And I see Ms. Pierce, would you like to say anything?
Yes, sorry. For some reason, I couldn't get off mute. I apologize, but I'm very excited and honored for the chance to join in serving our library. My husband and I have lived in Duval for about 3.5 years. We love the community. I retired about a year ago after many years doing training and development work within the healthcare realm. And so I've been giving thought this past year to different ways that I can serve the community during this pandemic and beyond. And suddenly I saw that the library board was looking for new members, and that really resonated with me because I grew up going to the library practically every day when I was a kid, and it was a great gift to me. I eventually realized, and so this is a chance to maybe pay it forward. Thanks.
Glad to have you. Thank you so much. All right, that concludes our listed new business. And during the course of the meeting, I did realize that I had forgotten to ask council for a motion per what we discussed in our committee of the whole regarding federal advocacy. So we have, hold on just a moment, and I will find the language. Our city attorney sent us some language, and I'll pull it up on the screen in just a second here. And then we'll just ask for a motion. And for the public's benefit, this is so that the city can move forward with a quicker process for requests for qualifications for potential contract for federal advocacy with our congressional delegation as well as federal agencies. So I will pull that up in just a second here. All right, so I'm looking for someone to make this motion to say, I move to authorize the mayor to utilize a request for qualifications process to solicit and select a federal lobbyist to work on behalf of the city with the expectation that the city council will consider the negotiated contract when ready. So
Mayor Mike Remington?
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Is it good enough if I say so moved?
I think that'll suffice.
Okay, so moved.
Second, Brednicki.
We have a motion and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Remington and Councilmember Brednicki. Is there any further discussion on this? Councilmember Naplin?
Yeah, now that our attorney is here, I just wanted to verify, is he still here? Is Daniel still here?
Yes. And I forgot we did have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Perfect time.
So what was stated in the COW was that we had to use the request for qualifications because if we used a request for proposal, we would have to choose the lowest price. And my understanding with requests for proposals is that you can include price as part of your scoring, but you don't have to choose the lowest price. Like, for example, when we, all kinds of contracts for professional services, it's not a formal bid. We take into consideration all the different aspects. And I would really like to take into consideration the price when we look at a lobbyist. And so I'm just a little bit confused. Maybe there was some misunderstanding, but my preference would be a request for proposal so we could understand pricing.
So yeah, so the way that the code is written right now, and I fully acknowledge you all are working through revisions to this, but as it's written right now and how I read it is that service contracts over a certain threshold, which I think the anticipation is that this would be over that. I think it's I'd have to click on it here, 25,000, kick to the prior section, which is 312,040. That is purchases more than $15,000. It's merely for the process. And that process is an RFP process that you award to the lowest responsible bidder. And so that puts us in a situation where the expectation is you do an RFP process, get a low bid, and then award to the low bid. And that's particularly challenging when you have a scope of work like this, where somebody could interpret really a different way to get there. And so you could have bid responses that come in at different levels and maybe would still in some ways meet the exact same scope of work. And so you might not actually get the individual that you want to work with the lowest bid. And so the idea was a request for qualifications, which you're all familiar with, would allow you to then negotiate with the one that's qualified the best.
So I hear what you're saying, and I guess that's a peculiarity with our code, not state law. And what I'm wondering is, how did we choose? I mean, we've had a lot of other purchases for professional services. I'll just throw out legal services where we didn't choose the lowest price. And so I don't know. I don't know if, anyway, it just seems like understanding the cost would be pertinent, but it seems like we're stuck. So I guess that's why it's good we're doing a procurement policy.
Well, and to be clear, when we, the anticipation is that 6 months, we don't know if with the RFQ, so it's going to be 3,000 or 5,000. So this is definitely, the more transparent way to go as well, to be able to look at qualifications. Councilmember Lingle.
I was just trying to think about a way that Councilmember Naplin's concern might be addressed in the RFQ, as opposed to a price per se, a fixed price contract type thing. Would it be possible for the applicants to tell us what their standard hourly rate is? Yep. Something like that?
Absolutely.
And it seems like that just gives us a little bit of information. Anyway, if we could do something like that as part of the RFQ, it gets us at least a ballpark of where what we might be looking at in terms of hours we can afford and how far we're going to go.
Absolutely, you can do that. And then you also have the opportunity to then negotiate with that qualified respondent. And so you can set that up. And then, of course, you can, when you create that contract, you can create, thresholds like don't go above this unless we, do check in to make sure we're getting what we want. Yeah. So it certainly would not be just because you end with it a blank check for $30,000. You'll have understanding of rates and getting what you need from them at the end of this.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that it's always good to structure these contracts with a little more detail, because if you are doing like a flat rate per month, it's a little harder to manage your outcomes, I guess is where I was going.
Councilmember Hoag, did you have your hand up?
So I guess because we don't have an agenda bill sitting in front of us, I'm a little confused as to what we're agreeing to, because shouldn't we have like a timeline or a maximum price? Because I guess, are you saying that if it goes over 25, you'd have to come to us, but anything under that, you're gonna be able to proceed?
This contract is going to be a contract that we're all a part of. I intend, even if it looks like it's going to be under the threshold of council approval, I intend to bring it forward for council approval, because the consultant is going to need to know that that support's there from the council as well. So regardless of what the amount is at the beginning, I plan on bringing it through council. And as far as, all we're doing right now is saying that we can use the RFQ process instead of the RFP process. So that's all that this does. And then we put develop the RFQ, put it out and solicit responses, and then make a decision from then. And then council still gets to vote on it.
One more quick question then. Can council approve the RFQ?
You could. I think that time, it's a timing issue as well. I don't know how much time at this point, because we're already, if at this point we won't have somebody on board till the middle to the end of April, and some of the key work is starting to move forward now, with much of that over the summer expected to be, the big stuff expected to be known by September. So the timing issue is part of that challenge. I've pulled an RFQ from another government agency and sent it to Daniel. He's already got some tips and advice and some modifications to make to it. But one of the things that we would that I want to put in is a maximum, a potential maximum amount before you have to come back and do another contract or extension or expansion or what have you, and keep it, as far as the dollar amount and time, keep it limited in scope, so that we can see what we're getting for our money before we make a longer term commitment. Mayor Pro Tem Remington and then Councilmember Schaefer. You're on mute.
I just wanted to follow up on the 6 month. We did talk about doing, a 6 month kind of a trial. I don't care how that's worded. It sounds like you would say, minimum of 6 months. It's nice for a company to know that, we may not extend it beyond that, but it allows us to kind of get our feet wet here, see how it's working, see if, we want to extend it beyond the 6 months. And another piece, if possible, it'd be nice to have a council member, if we have several companies putting in, several lobbyists, it'd be nice to have a council member on that selection for the RFQ.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be my intent.
Thank you.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. One is Councilmember Naplin, did that answer your question as far as your concern over an RFQ versus an RFP? I wasn't clear if it did or not.
It sort of does. My concern is, we get a list and we say, oh, well, this is the most qualified, and it's something we can't afford. And so it would be wasting a lot of time not understanding the pricing structure. So it sounds like Daniel has, feels like we could ask for a fee schedule as part of the process. So
absolutely.
Crisis averted.
Yeah. And for a bit of reference too, with most lobbyists in general, you're either getting charged by the project or getting charged a monthly retainer. And often what the monthly retainer does is it allows them to have a steady income, but there are months that they might be working twice as much as the next month following. So it's kind of in some ways like it very much is project based, I guess you could say. But yeah, that is part of what we want to know when we're looking at the qualifications, is what the cost, what their retainer is for the work.
Thank you, Councilmember Schaefer, for double checking.
The other question I have, or concern, is timeframe. And Mayor, perhaps you understand better than I do, going out with an RFQ, how quickly do you think we can get that done? Because like you say, there is a little bit of urgency tied to this, I think.
I think how fast we could get it out the door probably depends on the time that our legal has to help pull together a final product. And my initial gut instinct was to have it out for 2 weeks, and then I have lots of contacts and I can actively solicit and send it out to firms as well. And I'm sure Councilmember Lingle and Mayor Pro Tem Remington might have some contacts as well to help spread that news out as much as possible.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councilmember Lingle?
This is one that I would offer participation if you want it. I've worked with lobbyists for both the state and the Fed side, and if that's helpful, I'll do it if you want council participation.
Thank you, Councilmember. Great. Do we have everyone's questions answered? So we've got a motion on the floor. So with that, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. And with that, we will move into executive session to discuss the qualifications of an applicant for public employment under RCW 42.30.110 sub 1 sub G. And we will not be taking action after that executive session, and we expect it to last 15 minutes. If it lasts longer, the clerk will notify the audience members. So with that, we will move into executive session.
For the record, this is Jody Wyckoff, City Clerk. The executive session has been extended 5 minutes.
We're just waiting for a couple more folks to get online from executive session. Just waiting for Councilmember Naplin, and then we can adjourn. Almost before 9 o'clock, folks. Almost. All right, Councilmember Naplin is on. So we've resumed from executive session. No further action will be taken. And unless there are objections, we are adjourned. And let's just say, oh, Chief isn't on here, darn it. I was going to say thank you for his last meeting one more time, but he's not here. We'll get him in June. We'll roast him in June. All right, thanks all. Have a good night.
Bye, everyone.